And the freezing temperatures come as hundreds of asylum seekers are evicted from city shelters and wait for placement.
But the Arctic temperatures not keeping migrants from standing on long lines for hours, some even spending the night.
Very cold.
He was evicted from his homeless shelter after 30 days.
The clock is ticking for Jennifer Vargas and her 3 kids. In just weeks, they'll be evicted.
They told me I would have support finding work. They told me I would have support with my children. Those were lies.
New York City is set to begin the process of evicting migrant families from city-run shelters.
Starting tomorrow, families exceeding the 60-day stay will be told to leave and reapply for housing. Today, a rally took place in Lower Manhattan where demonstrators called for an end to the shelter limits that are impacting thousands of migrant families. Morgan McKay has more on the eviction process and reaction from City Hall.
You'll come into the arrival center, store your luggage, you receive your next assignments.
Around 4,400 migrant families with children have now received notices that their 60-day shelter stay limits are up and will be evicted out of shelters over the next several weeks on a rolling basis. If they do not have somewhere to go next, they will have to reapply for housing at the Roosevelt Hotel. City Hall says that starting on Tuesday, right now there are about 40 families in total who are unable to find their own housing and will have to reapply for a new hotel room. The city says they will be working to make sure kids can try to stay at the schools that they are currently going to.
If your child is in elementary school, you're the highest priority for us to immediately and quickly give you another placement in Manhattan, preferably close to where your child's in school.
Meanwhile, buses from Texas have continued to drop off migrants at New Jersey train stations, buying them train tickets to New York City in order to avoid any fines or lawsuits as a result of Mayor Eric Adams' executive order banning unannounced buses. Adams also announced a lawsuit against 17 bus companies last week in order to recoup money for having to care and shelter these migrants. Now, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy issued a letter to these bus companies also outlining several rules similar to Adams, and although it does not come with any penalties, the Adams administration praised this move.
We're going to be aggressive in our actions of what the bus companies and Governor Abbott is doing. And so we're not going to leave any stone unturned.
Now, Mayor Eric Adams says he'll be traveling to Albany on Tuesday for Governor Kathy Hochul's State of the State address, and will be watching to see if she makes a real commitment to funding migrant shelters and moving migrants to upstate counties. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Morgan McKay, Fox 5 News.
All that out, that's not going to hold us back. But the president, he is a president for all Americans. It's not about the governor of Texas. It's about the people of Texas. Because you hear me say this, and he has said this, he's a governor for, he's a president, pardon me, for red states, blue states.
But at a certain point, Texas National Guard soldiers and National Guard soldiers from other states are being used to frustrate federal authority. They are being used to get in the way of federal immigration enforcement and to flout a court order from a federal court. At what point does the president step in and say, enough of that, these are American soldiers, I am federalizing the National Guard and ordering them to let the Border Patrol do their jobs because they took an oath to the Constitution and I am their commander-in-chief? When does enough become enough?
So I'll say this, I'm not going to speculate on any actions the president could use. I'm just not. I'm just not going to do that. It is very clear, and I would remind everyone that the circumstances under which the federal government can mobilize a state's National Guard are outlined in the law, right? So that I'll leave that there, but I'm just not going to get into speculations on any actions the president's going to take at this time. And I'm going to reiterate, if these Republican governors actually cared about doing something to deal with the challenges at the border, about doing something, real meaningful actions, right, to deal with the immigration system that's been broken for decades under Democrats, under Republicans, not just this president, then they would reach out to their representative, their congressional representatiors, their senators and Congress members in their state who I'm assuming they know well. I'm assuming they've worked with them on issues that deals with the federal government. They should talk to them and say, hey, we need you, Congressman X, we need you, Senator X, in my state to work with Congress, to work maybe with the senators who are the Republican and Democrat senators who are doing this process, going through the negotiations. We need you to work with them so that we can so that we can deal with the challenges at the border. That's an easy ask. That is not difficult. That is something actually easy to do. It does not take much work from them to make those requests and to talk to their congressional members that they probably talk to and speak to about many other issues as it relates to their state and the federal level.
I understand you're talking about the political process.
It's not a political process. Wait, hold on a second. It's not a political process for a governor in their state to talk to their congressional members about taking legislative actions. That's not politics. That's just the right thing to do on behalf of their constituents. That is not politics.
But what I'm saying is that this appears to be a concerted effort led by the governor of Texas and joined by Republican governors, encouraged by the Republican likely nominee for president, who I know you cannot talk about up there, to flout federal authority, to undermine federal authority. And you don't seem to be willing to say the president will uphold the authority of the federal government.
So I've already answered this question multiple times, and I'm happy to repeat myself to you, Andrew. Number one, the president has taken this incredibly seriously. Incredibly seriously. When you have a president for their first legislative action is to deal with immigration and put forth a comprehensive plan to Congress, because that's the way you're going to actually deal with this issue. 3 years ago, Andrew, and no action has been taken by Congress. When you have a president that has been working with negotiators via obviously his team here with Republicans and Democrats in the Senate to have a real conversation, to talk about, in good faith, to talk about comprehensive ways to deal with policy, comprehensive ways to deal with funding, to deal with the immigration system, that's a president that's taking it very seriously. The president had Republicans and Democrat leaders here and ranking members of those committees. In that conversation had to deal with Ukraine, but that came up as well. And the president said it is important for Congress to act. We have been saying this. If you have a Republican governor that is playing political stunts and continues to do that and put actually the Border Patrol agents in harm's way and preventing them to do their job, that's a political stunt. We're going to call that out too. DHS has taken action, DOJ has taken action. That's a president that's taking it really seriously. I can't speak to DOJ actions, obviously, but those things are being taken very seriously because Border Patrol agents need to get to the area to do their jobs, to enforce the law. So if you think about it, you're asking about our legal authority. The governor is literally getting in the way of Border Patrol agents to do their jobs, enforcing the law. That's a problem, and that's something for him to answer. Guys, I gotta go to a meeting with the president. Have a great Friday, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice week.